The following is a production of Stevenson Media.
What is going on, everyone, and welcome to another special edition of the Twin Toros podcast. I am one part of your show, Ruben Calvillo, and that is the president of Houston Sports himself, Nick Stevenson. Now, normally we do the Monday episode on ESPN 97 to 5's YouTube channel that, gave us the week off for the holiday. So you're getting 2 episodes this week of the Twin
We
Toros
don't take days
podcast.
off, Ruben.
Right. Hey, man. But shout out to you, Nick, man. We are finishing the year on ESPN and we get to start the year on ESPN, man. We're doing very good with this, with this podcast we got going on. How you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling good, man. I know the Texans lost the game,
Yes.
but I hate to say I didn't expect them. I thought they'd be hard pressed to win the game. I was saying, if I told you before the show, if I had a Tank Dell jersey, I would have worn it. I feel terrible about what happened to him, man. It was really hard to see. And he was having a game, bro. Like, this is the game we've been waiting for him to have all season. This is the game we knew he had in him. He reminded us very much of the Tank Dell we saw last season. And the Texans were moving the ball when he was on the field. He was a problem for them, man. So that was hard to see. But like you said, man, Houston Texans football, we get to sit here and talk about it with one another. We get to break it down, as I know we're going to do. Being on 97.5's ESPN Houston's YouTube channel, having the privilege of doing this show with you, the 713 Houston Sportscast, all of y'all are swarming all the time. I'm blessed, bro. So, even with the loss and with the injury to Tank Dell, man, I'm still feeling nicey, as you would say.
Yeah, man. And before we get into the episode, we just want to shout out and give our prayers to Mr. Tank Dell and his family. When we heard from guys like Big Sarge that Tank Dell was able to be heard screaming while he was down,
Yeah.
you never want to see anyone go down, and it just hits a little bit more when that player is wearing your jersey, man. So we just want to wish him the speediest of recoveries. We have no update yet. The only update that we have is that it is a significant lower leg injury. I think we heard it was a dislocated knee. Safe to say that we will not see Tank Dell for the rest of the season, man.
Yep.
Prayers up for Tank, man. Prayers up for Tank. We also want to, move on to a little lighter note. Guys, if you were at the watch party, man, we want to thank you. We want to thank you. That event was insane. Over 300 people were there. We even had Aziz Al-Shaair pull up, Nick.
Hold up. Man, I was already upset that I didn't make it, but when you told me that was like the cherry on top, bro. I was like, I effed up, man. And it was really a scheduling conflict for me. I could have managed my time a little bit better and been able to pull up. But I told you in the text message, man, y'all repped the city of H-Town like nobody else, man. I've never seen a radio station have 300 people pull up. You guys got an appearance from Aziz Al-Shaair. He wasn't paid to be there.
Nope.
Dude saw y'all swarming on the internet, man, and just pulled up to kick it with the fans. So that's super dope, man. I'm so proud of what y'all did. And the Houston sports content creators, YouTubers, they're here to stay, man. And the people appreciate what y'all are doing. So I was just super proud to even slightly be a part of it, just because I do this show with you, and I'm proud of you guys.
Hey, man, the next one will be even better. We also plan to do one for the playoffs, but we just have to, get the details down, and we will let y'all know.
Hey, man,
Let's just get right.
You should come back down to Pasadena, man. Come back to the crib.
Where we go to Stinkadina at? Where are we gonna go?
Tri-City Sports Bar.
I tell you what, if you could get me into contact with the people of there, then we could have a conversation.
Okay. I already
But
know who to talk
Tejas
to.
Brewery, man, they blessed us. 2101 Summer Street. It was 3 stories. The beer was good. The food was delicious. The atmosphere was amazing, man. Shout out to Tejas Brewery.
Yeah, absolutely.
Houston Texans fall to the Kansas City Chiefs 27-19. I talked about this being the biggest game of the season for the Houston Texans. And for 3 quarters and a half, this Houston Texans team, you could say, with some costly mistakes from CJ Stroud, some with questionable penalties, they were in this game until the unfortunate injury of wide receiver Tank Dell on the touchdown.
Yeah.
After that, the life was out of the Houston Texans. More importantly, the life or energy, right? Energy.
Yeah.
The energy was out of our quarterback, CJ Stroud. And I think this is where we can have the conversation. Do you have an issue with CJ Stroud being that emotional on the sideline? Because I think we can all agree that CJ Stroud was not the same after that injury.
Um,
It's kind of
well,
hard to answer. I'm not going to lie.
this is what I'll say. As a person who wears his emotion on his sleeve, bro, like I don't have a problem with it at all. I think it is possible to still be a leader and wear your emotion on your sleeve and show, love for your brother. I mean, he said Tank Dell is my best friend. Imagine seeing your best friend snap his leg in half and sitting there writhing in pain, man. Like you can it's okay to show the emotion about that, man. It was emotional and you saw several people huddled around him, several people praying. It was the same thing we saw, in the Dolphins game when their wide receiver went down, man. It's tough to see that, man. Especially these guys are in a brotherhood. They all play this game. They put their bodies on the line, but they know the ultimate goal for them is to number one, play a game they love. Number two, provide for their families. And they want to be on the field playing that game and trying to win that championship. So I have no problem with CJ Stroud showing his emotion. You're not gonna get any toxic masculinity from me, bro. Like, it's cool.
Mhm.
This is what I'll say. I know he said post game that he had a hard time shaking it off. To me, I didn't see that on the field. I think that just the offense as a whole, and I can't speak to what their mentality
Yeah.
was. Maybe that was the problem. But all I know is that after Tank Dell was gone, it was probably a combination of number one, he's probably your second best wide receiver on the team right now. Number
Who was your
two,
best wide receiver that day?
well, he was the best wide receiver that day. So the offense struggled in that regard, but then we saw a lot of the same issues, a lot of bad play calling by Bobby Slowick.
Mhm.
We saw, offensive line not protecting CJ. I thought in the game he still looked pretty poised, but at the same time, I got to believe him when he says, "Hey, it was hard for me to shake that off." But as far as him showing the emotion on the field, I don't have a problem with that. And I don't think that's the reason they lost the game.
No, I have no problem with people showing their emotions. Hell, I can't get through a One Piece episode without shedding a couple of tears myself. I
Yeah,
think the problem that people have is the fact that you can tell it affected him.
yeah,
And at that moment, at that point in the game, you look at it, and the Texans are only 1 point off from tying this football game. There
yeah.
was still a quarter and a half left, and that moment would have meant more if he still had the emotion, was still crying, but then won the football game. And I think that's where a lot of fans are starting to have, some concerns going forward about CJ Stroud and questioning his leadership because
Or his
you are
mental
the
toughness,
quarterback of, huh?
or his mental toughness.
Yeah, his
Like,
mental toughness, and
yeah,
I think that is fair to to criticize. I love the fact that Joe Mixon was right there on the sideline, on the bench, right next to him. That's what you want to see from one of your leaders, But I just go back and say this kid's very young. I mean, he's younger than me. He's barely, he was barely allowed to go into a club and drink a beer.
yeah,
Um, if I would have saw, my best friends Caleb or Jacob here with their leg bent in some type of way that I've never ever seen before,
yeah,
of course I feel some type of way. But then again, when you look at it from the business standpoint of it, from the game standpoint of it, man,
yeah,
injuries happen every week in the league.
yeah.
And you just wanted to see your quarterback win that for him. It's a tough conversation to have.
Listen, man, there's no way I'm gonna sit my fat ass on my couch, comfortable, with nobody running at me and judge CJ Stroud's mental toughness, man. There's no way he's in the league right now, given everything he's been through in his personal life. His pops being in prison, growing up poor, taking the path he did to get to be the number two pick in the NFL. This dude has mental toughness, man. And if he didn't have the mental toughness, I mean, he didn't walk off the field. He stayed out there and he played. and I feel like he tried to win the game. The team as a whole just didn't execute in really key moments, man. So I'm
Mhm.
not putting that on CJ Stroud. I understand that a lot of people equate the game of football to war and that the quarterback is the general and he's got to show strength. And I get all that, man. But at the end of the day, like just go out there and play ball. And I think if they win the game, nobody's talking about this right now. And that's my thing. They didn't lose the game because he got emotional on the sideline. They
Mm.
lost the game because they failed to execute at some key moments, really in the fourth quarter. They had every chance, and I felt like you said, for most of the game, they played pretty well. I know we pointed to a bunch of bad calls by the refs,
Well,
and
we haven't just yet, so we could get into that, man. There were some very questionable calls
yeah,
from this officiating crew. I'm not gonna say they won the game for the Kansas City Chiefs, but there were some moments out there where even the announcers themselves were
uh-huh,
chuckling when they were talking about some of the flags that the Houston Texans were getting.
yeah,
You had a touchdown that was wiped away off of a strip sack. You had a sack wiped away from a Derek Stingley ghost call. You have a big offensive play wiped away by a Tank Dell offensive pass interference. We learned that Nico Collins was offsides, on one of the plays. So a lot of questionable calls that
yeah.
really hurt the Houston Texans.
Yeah, and I don't dispute that. My thing is that most of those happened in the first half, right? And at halftime, you should have been tied 17-17 if, Kaimi Fairbairn doesn't miss the extra point. And I don't know if that had anything to do with the delay, the emotion of what happened to Tank Dell, but you were in the game. And so that's why I said I felt like there was some execution problems. You and I have talked religiously about how Bobby Slowick has got to get rid of the wide receiver screen out of his playbook.
Yep.
It doesn't work. It hasn't worked. The only benefit it had is they faked it one time and then got a pretty nice gain on a screen that went to Joe Mixon. But I feel like the Texans lost because we saw some of the same issues we've seen from them throughout the season.
100%
And
agree. There was
yeah. And I think that's the takeaway that I got. And I thought to myself a lot about, and I don't know if I'm getting ahead of ourselves. I just thought a lot to myself about some of the personnel decisions that the Texans made early. You and I have talked about Noah Brown. You and I have talked about how they kept Steven Sims for him. Like, what's your favorite Steven Sims moment of this season? Already.
there is no Steven Sims moment of this season. He was only here because of what he did against the Ravens in the playoffs.
Exactly.
And then we
Exactly.
saw Noah Brown, to your point, until he got injured, was the number 2 wide receiver for the Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels.
Right. Right. So yes, the refs made some really bad calls, and I'm not going to say they didn't impact the game because the sack that got wiped away it was a BS holding call on Stingley with Hop
How
with
many
D-Hop.
times have we seen Stingley get called for holding this year?
That's the first game I can remember, to be honest with you. Like maybe I'm not saying he hasn't, but I don't remember him getting called for holding at any point this season. Do you?
No.
I don't know that he has. And here's the thing: he made contact within the first 5 yards, which is legal. He didn't grab him, and then when D Hop broke out of his route, he just slipped. And you remember what was it 2 years ago? If a bad call like that was made, the NFL was allowing coaches to challenge them, and then they
Mhm.
took that away. I don't know why. I know you want the game to move along, but it's starting to get pretty egregious. I thought the offensive holding call on Tank Dell was absolutely asinine. But like I said, um, most of that happened in the first half, and you still had an opportunity to win this game. So I'm not gonna. I don't want to fall into that trap of blaming the refs, but when it's the Kansas City Chiefs and we see this happen so much, it's obviously a conversation that you want to have. Um, I think I told you before we started, I didn't learn anything new about the Texans. I knew if the Texans play their best game with their best personnel on the field, that they can beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And I'm gonna tell you this, Ruben. A lot of people expected me to come on this show today and say I told you so about the injuries.
I
I'm
know
not.
you want to.
No, I really don't, because you and I both agreed this game, they had more to play for than just the pride of beating the Kansas City Chiefs. They had an opportunity still to get the number 2 seed. And so I felt like, hey, as long
They
as that's on
still
the
do.
table,
That's crazy.
I think no, because Buffalo won. Buffalo would have had to lose out, correct?
No,
Now
that
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 Buffalo
was
beat
for the number 2 seed. So
yeah,
for the
that's what
number
I'm
2
saying.
seed, we would have to, have Buffalo lose out and the
They
Steelers
beat the
lost.
Patriots yesterday, so I don't think that's gonna happen now.
Yeah, but we're not talking about the 2 seed, talking about the 3 seed. We're still in play for the 3 seed.
Oh, you're still in play for the 3.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
yeah, yeah, my fault, yeah.
Yeah, but for me, the 3 and the 4, it doesn't matter.
The
That's
and,
my personal opinion.
yeah, okay.
And
So,
the yeah,
mm,
so I didn't think that they should have rested anybody yesterday. I wanna make that clear. I was
mhm.
only asking the question, at what point do they start thinking about health? So let me ask you, Ruben, now that 2 is off the table and you're gonna be either 3 or 4, how do you feel like they should handle it going forward?
Yeah, I mean, if you're banged up, then you should be out. If you're healthy, then you should be out there playing football.
Okay.
So the ones that are that are pretty banged up, I
Check.
wouldn't mind if they're on a snap count or if they're out. And then, against Tennessee, I really don't want to see anyone out there
Yeah, for sure, for
because
sure.
it's just, and to your credit, right? This is where you can say you told you so. Right now, we're heading into the playoffs without, without Tank Dell.
Jimmy Ward,
And and
Jack Mason.
fuck Jimmy Ward. Let me say that. Let me say
I
that.
would say fuck Jimmy Ward if we
Let
still had
'cause
Jalen Petrie, but he was playing the role of Jalen Petrie. Now who's gonna
dude,
play that role?
fuck Jimmy Ward, man. And then Shaq Mason, apparently according to Aaron Wilson, he missed out on a huge significant injury to his ankle. But
So he's gonna be all right? I haven't heard anything about it.
I haven't heard anything yet. We saw Will Anderson Jr. Was on the injury report, but then again, no one really practiced yesterday.
Yeah.
But like to your credit, man, you said that what we've been talking about all season, we're talking about it again, and that is, this Houston Texan offense struggling. Your quarterback CJ Stroud throwing 2 interceptions.
Yeah,
Um,
man. Bad
black
ones too. Usually he doesn't throw bad ones. These
bad
are bad
play
ones.
calling from your offensive coordinator. It's just the same conversations we were having. And if you would have got the performance you got from the offense last week against Miami, you probably would have won this game because you were mistake free. And we talked
Mhm.
about that going in. You can't make any mistakes against this Kansas City Chiefs team. And this is where you have to give credit to their defense and their defensive coordinator Spaz.
Oh
They
my
were
god.
ready for what the Houston Texans had.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
he's going to become a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator, Hall of Fame coach when it's all said and done. Also, so give credit to them in that sense. But man, you just felt like the Texans were hanging with them. They were hanging with
yeah,
them.
they
Right, it
were.
was third and long, big play Nico, third and long, big play Tank, and you're just thinking, man, right now we're trading blows with the Kansas City Chiefs,
Mhm.
and then boom, John Hickman brought it up on Locked On Texans. We thought that the Jalen Petrie was going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. We thought the Aziz Al-Shaair suspension was going to break the straw that, I'm sorry, was going to, break the camel's back. Maybe it's this one. Maybe, we don't know how the Houston Texans are going to recover from this injury. However, the good thing is you have a game in 3 days, so they don't have time to really think about Mr. Tank Dell because they have to be worried about the Baltimore Ravens on Christmas with Beyonce performing at halftime.
Yeah.
Um, I
Who do you
just,
think who do you think of the 3 what or 2 wide receivers starting?
I mean, Nico and Hutch, Nico or Robert Woods, do they pick up a Deontay Johnson? Do they pick up a Odell Beckham Jr.? I mean, right now they've become more needs at this point.
Yeah. And that's
With
crazy, bro.
Deontay, huh?
That's crazy if you think about it. At the beginning of the season, that was the deepest room we had on the team, right?
Dude,
That was
bro,
the room that was gonna be the scariest that the Houston Texans have, and
that's why when you look at this Houston Texan offense and you see the story all year, offensive line garbage.
mhm,
Joe Mixon missed time. Nico Collins missed time. Stephon Diggs out for the year. Tank Dell out for the year. Like every major part of this offense that we were so excited about has all missed significant time.
mhm,
Plus, you tie in the fact that the offensive line coach has never been in this system before, and then you bring in Bobby Slowick. The entire offense has just been a disaster all season. However, what needs to be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
That is the
That's what I was just
O-line,
thinking.
and that is potentially a change at play caller. But like Cody Stutes said earlier today, um, if you think Bobby Slowick's not gonna be here next year, then you got another thing coming. So
What if they lose the wild card game in a really bad offensive showing? You think he'll still be back?
I don't know. That's the thing because Bobby Slowick has a lot of excuses this year.
That is true.
Um, but when and you've heard me say this almost every week, when you have a quarterback, a rookie quarterback, the sense of urgency needs to be at an all-time high.
Yeah.
And I don't know who brought it up. They said that maybe Nick Caserio views Bobby Slowick as like a player, right? A young coach developing, but I
Yeah,
don't know, man. We know this
that was
defense
that
is
saying.
is going to show up week in and week out, no matter who's out there. And we're talking about this offense.
Yeah, yeah. Here's the reason I think he'll probably be back. Like you said, now he has the built-in excuses of the injuries. And how successful have we seen young quarterback careers be when they have multiple offensive coordinators in their first 3-4 years? It's usually not good, right?
Mhm.
So maybe they're thinking continuity. Maybe they're thinking, hey, Bobby Slowick will improve along with the offensive line. He will improve along with CJ Stroud. It's not going to make people very excited come next season. And I don't even want to talk about next season because we got 2 games, we got a playoff game. But all I'm saying is if he's still here next year, Texans fans are going to be waiting, chomping at the bit for that first mistake. Yeah,
That's what I'm gonna every single mistake that's gonna happen, we're all gonna blame Bobby. And here's the thing, right? You can argue that Bobby didn't, outside of those couple of screens, well, not couple, he ran a lot of unsuccessful plays, right? He's just as bad. But you can say, what if those 2 interceptions were not thrown?
yep,
So that's what there's so much excuses. The entire offense has been a disaster, but I'm still, team fire Bobby Slowick. Other than that, man, just it was a tough loss. It was a tough loss.
yeah, for sure. So we, I want to know how you would feel about this. What if D'Amico Ryans treated this Ravens game, your third game in 10 days, similar to a preseason game?
You think the NFL is gonna allow him to do that?
I mean, they don't have much say, do they? I mean, it's not like the NBA where they fine people for resting.
I just
Um,
think that because of them being on, and here's the thing, we had this conversation at Tejas Brewery,
uh-huh.
right? Like, I just don't think that's in D'Amico's, mindset,
You're right.
right?
I don't think it's in. Yeah,
Talks about swarm and special work ethic and relentless mindset. I just don't think that's in his DNA.
yeah, that's
Um,
the player mindset, right? But now
yeah.
he's a coach. Now he's a strategist. I'm not saying he should do it. I was
Mhm.
just because I was thinking in hindsight, how do you keep the rhythm of your players, still try to build on the offense, but still prioritize injury? And I was like,
You
what if you treat
can't.
it like what if
You
you
really
treat
can't.
I was like, what if you treat it like, a preseason game? Play your starters for the first half or the first 3 quarters, whatever, and then start resting people in the fourth. But
It just depends on the score also. What if you're
yeah,
hanging
for
with
sure.
Baltimore? You're gonna wanna win the football game.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, if you care about being the number 3 seed over the number 4, then absolutely. And it's only I'm sure that D'Amico Ryans does care about that. I doubt he has my same opinion of it doesn't matter if you're number 3 or number 4. Because to me, no matter what, you're playing if you can win your home game in the wild card round, you're either playing in what, Kansas City or Buffalo. Neither
mhm.
one of those is easy, so you might as well be as healthy as you possibly
I'd
can
rather
going
go
in.
back to Kansas City, to be honest with you.
I would love to go back to Kansas
I
City.
would love to go back and get
I
that,
told you last week, man. Remember when the Giants almost beat the Patriots in the regular season, and then they figured out what they needed to do and they got it done in the Super Bowl, man? Like, I would love to play the Patriots again. I'm excited about facing Baltimore for the third time in the last 2 years, man. Like, I think we
And
have
are
a
the,
shot.
are the Lions arresting people yet or no?
They should be, but I
They
haven't
should
watched.
be, right? They got
I
like
haven't watched them
25
since.
people on the IR list.
Yeah, yeah. Um, This is a conversation we're gonna have to start having, man, because they're gonna add another game to the season
They
eventually.
gotta add it. They gotta add another bye week, dude.
I think they're supposed to be adding a second bye. Once they get to 18 games, I think they're gonna add another bye. Also, they probably need to expand the rosters and,
Yeah, 53 is not enough.
no, not at all. Not when you're I mean, dude, we're seeing a lot of people go down, man, and it's tough, and it's the nature of the sport, and I know it's a business, um, but man, I imagine going into the playoffs, and I know there's probably no team going into the playoffs 100% healthy, but think about who we've lost this season already. It's tough, man. I mean, you think having Stephon Diggs out there right now wouldn't be amazing? It's a conversation we'll probably be having in the offseason, but I'm still not down enough on the Texans to say this season is over. This is what I do know. It's going to be hard to win a playoff game
Yeah.
without Tank Dell. Now, maybe you go pull somebody off the street and they have you brought up Odell Beckham Jr. He's not a guy I'm going to rely on for an entire season, but for a couple of games, just maybe, right?
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know. Maybe all of a sudden, John Mechie figures a few things out for a couple of games. Losing Tank Dell is going to hurt this team, man, for sure. Um, but as long as there's life in them, as long as there's time on the clock, man, we got to ride H-Town until we drown, baby. And we're going to be rooting for the Texans to win 2 playoff games. Let me ask you a question. With all the injuries, if they don't win 2 playoff games now, are you going to still
No,
feel the
it's still gonna
same?
be the same. It's gonna be like the
Really?
season. It's gonna be, the season was a disappointment, but then I know during the off season when I'm drunk at night and I'm talking to the boys, and I'm gonna say, man, we did have a lot of injuries, just
Yeah.
trying to soak myself back into believing. But
Yeah, yeah.
um, dude, it's just we're
It's been tough.
still waiting for the big win.
Yeah.
And it just sucks, dude.
I
I'm
want
getting
the big win
old.
in
I'm
I want
getting
the big
old, bro. And like
I want the big win in
I want
January, man.
the team
That's where I want
win.
the big win. And that's why I said, man,
I remember having conversations on the school bus talking about when Brady retires, we're gonna run the AFC.
is
And
this
then
when we had Deshaun Watson?
no, we didn't even have Watson yet.
Oh shit.
And it's just I mean I love this team, brother, but
Yeah, yeah, man. It's a tough week, man. It's a tough week because we were hype about this game and we saw
and you
just
were
a couple
hanging
of
with
plays.
them,
Yeah,
bro.
that's what I'm saying. Just a couple of plays going in another direction. You win that game. And even with the loss of Tank Dell, man, I know for a fact you'd be feeling different than you feel right now. It
Yeah.
sucks, man. But like I said, man, and I would almost rather, and the NFL is not going to let this happen. This is a Christmas game. They want to see all their big stars
Mm,
out there. And this is why I say the NFL, you have a problem, man. Don't talk to me about player safety when you're having people play all these games in 10 days.
exactly.
Um, but I would almost rather them rest this week and play next week. But that's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
Not gonna
So
happen. It's
let's
not
just
gonna
knock on wood. Nobody else gets hurt, man. Let's get out of this game healthy.
dude, we got a game in 3 days.
Yeah, win or loss, come out healthy. I'm not gonna feel any different about this team if they lose to Lamar Jackson again. Like Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, they're a good team, and they're both gonna be tired, beat up. The good news for us is they just played a game against Pittsburgh, and so they're going to be beat up too. So everybody's going to be tired. Everybody's going to be beat up. I just hope everybody comes out healthy, and I hope the Texans get a dub. That's all I can really hope for at this point.
Can you imagine a dub on Christmas?
That'd be great. Oh my goodness, bro! Like that would be great.
That would
And
reset the season, right? Nah.
nah, sure, sure. I mean, you feel if you beat the Ravens without Tank Dell, like imagine Hutchinson has a game or something crazy, bro.
We need to pick up someone, bro. We need to hopefully I get to do another video today talking about the Texans getting Deontay Johnson. But we need help. So hopefully that comes soon.
Deontay Johnson, I thought he got picked up already. Am I
No,
tripping?
no, he's cut. They cut him.
Oh, they did. Okay.
So we should learn today by 3 p.m. if Deontay Johnson is going to be a Houston Texan. We are on the fourth. We're on the I think we're the 24th team on the waiver wire. So we have to go. We have to wait for 23 other teams to make a decision
How
whether or
many
not
playoff teams are ahead of us? Do you know off the?
I'm not too sure, but I know the Chiefs are interested. Of course they are, bastards. And as the Chargers,
They can't be ahead of
um,
the Texans though. From
so
where
no,
they're
no,
at.
no. So as far as the playoffs, I'm not too sure, but
I bet
hopefully we
we're the
get
first
to.
playoff team. 24 out of
And
30.
then
I
and
bet
then
we're
I
the
saw
first.
the rumor that said we were interested in Odell. I don't know how true that is.
The only
I saw
reason
that on
Odell Beckham got
Instagram.
cut from Miami, in my opinion, was
Huh?
because of the emergence of Washington. I said the only reason Beckham got cut from Miami was because of the emergence of Washington, right? Like they didn't need him.
Yeah, but
It
he
wasn't
wasn't doing anything
necessarily
all year.
that's true. But they have they have more wide receivers than the Texans have right now. We'll
Well,
see.
sure.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
yeah. Now, now bringing anyone,
Yeah.
like so. But we'll get into it, as we react next in just a couple of days. Actually, we don't have time to, preview the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, unless you want to do one tomorrow, the very next day.
Yeah,
But
I'm free tomorrow. I
oh,
need you to bring I need you to bring that Ruben energy tomorrow, though. I
you
don't like
know, it,
this. I don't like this sad Ruben.
bro, because okay, dude, I was extremely hungover, right? So we're at Texas Brewery. We get
Did you
slaughtered.
cry with CJ?
No, 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 no. But we were lit, right? And
Oh
then
yeah.
at night we go celebrate the mother-in-law's birthday at a bar. We don't get home. We don't, we're not in bed till 4 or 5 in the morning,
Ooh,
right? Then yesterday, we're just, we're chilling, enjoying the devil's lettuce. And, now we're here on Monday trying to make it through.
yeah.
But yes, the energy will be better next time, man. Hopefully we're talking about a dub. But guys, I just want to thank everyone who was a part of this episode. Um, it means the absolute world. We will see you guys in just a couple of days. That was Nick. I'm Ruben. You have a blessed one.
Good night.